Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Nigro with the Chem Calculations screencast. This screencast is going to cover how you can determine the oxidation number of an element within a compound. Now, these compounds are going to be a blend of ionic compounds, covalent compounds, and acids. And if you follow this general set of rules, you should be able to figure out the oxidation number of any element within any compound. Now, the question then is, why do we need to do this? Well, there's a whole general category of reactions where electrons are transferred. So there's an element that is donating an electron, and then there's another element that is accepting that electron. We call these reactions redox reactions. And as part of that process, we need to identify which element is doing what. And that is where the oxidation numbers come in. We'll determine the oxidation numbers of the elements before the reaction, and then we'll determine the oxidation numbers after the reaction. And we look for where the changes have happened. All right. So we're going to start with the definition of oxidation number. It is similar to charge. All right. But more specifically, it represents the charge an atom would have if all bonds were ionic bonds. So what would that look like in terms of electron donation or acceptance? And these oxidations numbers help us track the movement of electrons within a reaction. All right. So you're going to see in some cases, it's going to be the charge that we're used to seeing for a particular element. In other cases, it's not, because it depends on what other atoms are interacting with that particular element in that particular molecule. All right. So now what we're going to do is go through a couple general rules. All right. These general rules are the ones that I follow when I'm assigning these oxidation numbers. All right. So the first thing to look for, as you know, when we have single replacement reactions, you sometimes are going to have elements in their elemental states. All right. And when that's true, when we have free elements, their oxidation number is equal to 0. All right, so if you have H2 or Cl2, if you have Na or Fe, and they're all by themselves in that elemental state, their oxidation number is going to be equal to 0. So I always look for those first. All right, second, all right, if you have a monoatomic ion, all right, so let's say you have Na plus or you have Fe plus 2, all right, their oxidation number of those monoatomic ions equals their charge. All right. So for example, if you had Cl minus, the oxidation number would be -1. If you have Al plus 3, the oxidation number would be plus 3. All right. So if you have a monoatomic ion, its oxidation number is equal to its charge. All right. Now that does not hold for polyatomic ions. They have multiple elements. You got to figure it out for those guys. But for monoatomic, it equals the charge. All right. Now, in addition to these two rules, there are what we call predictable oxidation numbers. So predictable, oops, well, let me try that again. Oxidation numbers. Now, this list is going to be almost all the time, but there are going to be some exceptions. All right. We do not run up against those exceptions very often in AP chemistry, but I don't want you to assume that these are always going to be the case. All right. So, first, group 1 metals, when they are involved in compounds, all right, they're usually +1 charge. All right. So group 1 metals, we know in general, are very reactive. They like to donate that last valence electron or their only valence electron pretty easily, which means they tend to form compound. When they're in compounds, they tend to be +1 in terms of oxidation number. All right. The same goes for the group 2 metals. Same idea, pretty reactive, not as much as our alkali metals. but the alkaline earth metals, pretty close. They also tend to take on their normal charge, so their oxidation number tends to be +2. All right, on the other side, another highly reactive element is fluorine. All right, fluorine is a halogen, highly reactive, needs one more electron to fill that outer valence shell to have an octet. So it tends to form oxidation numbers, or not tends to form, tends to have oxidation numbers of -1. All right, also reactive, but not quite as much, oxygen. Whoops, did I spell that right? All right, 6-valence electrons likes to pick up 2. So in general, when it's in a compound, its oxidation number is equal to -2. Now there is an exception for oxygen when it's in a peroxide. So you have an oxygen bound to another oxygen, not elemental oxygen, but oxygen bonds within a molecule. Then we get -1 for those guys. So it's a little bit different. But for the most part, you're going to see oxygen as -2. All right. And then the last one is going to be our friend hydrogen. All right, so hydrogen tends to form compounds where it has an oxidation number of +1. The one exception to this is if hydrogen is interacting with a metal and form what's called a hydride. All right, when that happens, the metal will be the positively charged ion, so it's going to have a positive oxidation number, whereas the hydrogen has accepted the electron and becomes negative. So you get a negative oxidation number there. But for the most part, we're going to see it as +1. So don't jump to conclusions that it needs to be -1. It's very rare that that happens. All right. The next thing to keep in mind, once you've assigned oxidation numbers, the way it usually works is you know all of the elements but one. All right. And these oxidation numbers need to add up. Whoops, let me write that again. All right. All these oxidation numbers should add up to the charge on the molecule. All right, if that molecule is neutral, they should all add up to 0. If that is a polyatomic ion and has a charge, they should all add up to that charge. All right, that is going to be a very important rule here because that's what's going to let us solve for our unknown. All right, and then last but not least, all right, generally speaking, compounds with more than 2 elements, when you have those, the element furthest to the right takes its most common oxidation number. All right, so this is particularly important for some of our polyatomics where hydrogen is involved as well as oxygen. You'll note oxygen tends to be to the furthest to the right, so it's going to be -2 in almost all of those compounds. All right, it's just a general rule of thumb. We're going to go through a couple so you'll see how this works. All right, so what we're going to do, we've got a table down here. We've got a lot to look at, so it won't take us that long, but it's good practice. All right, so what we have is an NH3 molecule, and our job is to determine the oxidation number on nitrogen. All right, now if we look at nitrogen, all right, it's got 5 valence electrons, so most often it forms a -3 ion. All right, but that's not always going to be the case. You should always check. All right, so I know that hydrogen is most often a +1 oxidation number. All right, so I've got this nitrogen and I've got 3 hydrogens, each with an oxidation number of +1, and the molecule is neutral, so those need to add up to 0. So I end up with nitrogen having a -3 oxidation number. So it is as we expect. All right, but we'll see later nitrogen does not always behave in this way. All right. We're going to move to sulfuric acid, H2SO4. So I start by looking at what I know. Oxygen's going to be -2 for its oxidation number. Hydrogen is not attached to a metal, so it's going to be +1. So I have 2 at +1. My sulfur, which is unknown, and then 4 at -2, and it's a neutral molecule, so that needs to add up to 0. So I have 2 plus sulfur minus 8 equals 0. So here sulfur has an oxidation number of plus 6. All right, now if we were just going with what we understand about ionic compounds, we would have given sulfur a minus 2 charge because it has 6 valence electrons. But in this case, it's involved in a covalent interaction with hydrogen and oxygen, so its oxidation number and charge are not the same idea. All right, so we move over to this next compound. All right, again, oxygen plus 2. Now, zinc is a metal, all right, and I know that it tends to form a plus 2. No, wait, I just messed nitrogen up. Sorry, oxygen's minus 2, sorry. Plus 2, though, for zinc. All right, and that's going to be the case for most of our metals. We might see a couple of exceptions, particularly chromium and manganese, since do a little funky stuff. All right, so we're going to have a 2 for the zinc, our unknown sulfur, and we have 3 oxygens at minus 2 each, neutral molecules, so they need to add to 0. So 2 plus sulfur minus 6 equals 0. So the oxidation number for sulfur this time is plus 4. All right, so you can see it's not the same as what we saw in sulfuric acid, and this is why you have to actually calculate these oxidation numbers. You can't make these assumptions. All right, now we're going to move on to aluminum hydroxide. Again, minus 2 for the oxygen, plus 1 for the hydrogen. Our unknown here is aluminum. So we're going to have 3 at minus 2 plus 3 at plus 1. Neutral molecules, so they need to add to 0. So aluminum minus 6 plus 3 equals 0. So aluminum's oxidation number is going to be plus 3. And we could have predicted that. This is an ionic compound, so it's pretty straightforward for those. All right, up next, sodium. This is an elemental state. Oops. Elemental state. And when that is the case, the oxidation number is 0. All right, we move over Cl2. This is also its elemental state. So its oxidation number again will be 0. All right. Now we have silver nitrate, minus 2 for the oxygens. I know silver is usually almost always a plus 1 ion, so we're going to assign it plus 1, nitrogen being our unknown. So plus 1 plus our unknown nitrogen, and then I have 3 oxygens at minus 2 each, neutral molecule. So 1 plus the nitrogen minus 6. And we see that in this case, nitrogen has an oxidation number of plus 5. All right, now that is different than what we saw for ammonia, where it had a minus 3 oxidation number. And this is what I'm saying is you have to do this. You cannot make assumptions with these molecules. All right, up next, we've got perchlorate, ClO4, minus 1. All right, so minus 2 for each of those oxygens. So we've got chlorine, plus 4 times minus 2. Now this time, not a neutral molecule. So we put minus 1 for the overall charge. So we got chlorine minus 8 equals minus 1. So we move that 8 over and we get a positive 7 for the oxidation number of chlorine. All right, so that may seem strange to you because we know chlorine is a halogen and it likes to accept electrons, but in this case, oxygen is a little more electronegative, so it is able to actually pull electrons. All right, and remember, this is not the charge, this is its oxidation number. All right, so we've got SO2, so minus 2 for the oxygen, sulfur plus 2 times negative 2, neutral molecule, so 0, sulfur plus negative 4 equals 0. So the oxidation number on sulfur here is plus 4. All right. Potassium dichromate. All right. So we've got group 1 metal plus 1, oxygen minus 2. So we have 2 times plus 1, our unknown chromium, and then 4 times negative 2, neutral molecule. So 2 plus chromium minus 8. 0. Chromium is going to have a plus 6 oxidation number here. All right. Oh, whoa, whoa. What did I do wrong? I'm looking at my answer key and I realize I did something wrong. I missed this right here. All right. You have to be careful for that too. Don't be me. All right. So there are 2 chromiums in here. All right. So that means instead of the chromium being +6, when I divide that by 2, the chromiums are actually each have an oxidation number of +3. All right, so watch out for that when your element that you're looking at has a subscript. All right, we're going to see something again, I think, right here. Calcium's +2, oxygen's -2. So we have +2. Now, if we have this outside, that means I have 2 chlorines plus 2 times 3, 6 oxygens, neutral molecule. So we're going to have 2 plus 2Cl minus, oop, not 8, 12 equals 0. So we're going to have -10. We'll take it over, becomes +10, divide by 2. So chlorine's oxidation number here will be +5. All right, come over here. Oh, chromate's back again, except this is dichromate. All right, I think something may be wrong with one of my earlier, but that's okay. We'll just keep going. All right, +1 for the potassium, -2 for the oxygen, and then 2 chromiums. So 2 times +1 plus 2Cr plus 7 times -2, neutral molecule, so 0. So 2 plus 2Cr minus 14 equals 0. All right, so we're going to have -12, and then we'll slide it over, becomes +12, divide by 2. And here chromium is +6 for oxidation number. All right, HPO3 -2. So this is hydrogen phosphite. All right, +1 for the hydrogen, -2 for my oxygen. So I've got a +1 plus 1 phosphate +3 times -2 for the oxygens. Now this is an ion, so it equals that charge. So -2 overall. So I have 1 plus phosphorus -6 equals -2. So that would be -5. I take it over, and phosphorus is going to have a +3 oxidation number. All right, we've got hypochlorous acid. So -2 for the oxygen, +1 for the hydrogen. So +1, that chlorine, plus -2. We add them all up, neutral molecule, so 0. So here chlorine is going to have an oxidation number of +1. All right, MnO2. We know oxygen's -2. So we've got Mn plus 2 times -2, all add up to our neutral 0. So we find that that manganese has an oxidation number of +4. All right, and then last but not least, potassium is +1, oxygen is -2. So +1 plus chlorine plus 3 times -2 is equal to 0 for our neutral molecule. So 1 plus chlorine -6. Well, 0, so the oxidation number of chlorine is going to be +5. Okay, so I realize that seems pretty easy. It's can be a little tedious, but it is a skill that you must have. When we do redox chemistry towards the end of the year, part of that is identifying what is being oxidized, what is losing electrons, and what is being reduced, what is gaining electrons. And it's not always as easy as just looking at the compound and guessing. You need to be able to do the oxidation numbers for some of these. So make sure that you remember your general rules, that the free elements are going to have an oxidation number of 0. If you have a monoatomic ion, it takes on its charge. All right, they're predictable oxidation numbers for some elements. Group 1 metals tend to be +1, group 2 metals tend to be +2. I would also throw aluminum in there. It tends to be +3 when it forms compounds, as does zinc at +2 and silver at +1. All right, fluorine tends to be -1 for oxidation number, oxygen -2, and then hydrogen +1. All right, remember all those oxidation numbers must add up to either 0 if the molecule is neutral or the charge if it is charged. All right, and if you get confused, the element furthest to the right always takes on its usual oxidation number. But as you saw, I worked through the problem, so it was pretty straightforward. Okay?